Hey y'all, good morning. It's Monday, another studio vlog. Let's see here. We have a really short week ahead for work. I'm only gonna be doing work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because on Thursday, I'm going to Seattle, which I'm very excited about. And if you know anything about Rent Paper Co., we do a ton of travel stuff, and of course we have Seattle, but I've never been, so I'm really excited. Really, this week what we need to get done is make sure like the shop and everything's set. There isn't anything we need to change, everything's ready to go. I don't have to close the shop because my husband Gare will be here back in Atlanta, and he can ship out any orders and take care of all of that. Do any little odds and ends that we need to get done. I got my coffee, French press, delicious. And let's get to it. All right. Hey guys, it's Tuesday. It's around lunchtime. The week is chugging along. We don't have that much longer to get some stuff done before I go to Seattle, so I think today we're going to get a coaster order in. We're getting some new ones printed. We're doing Cape Cod, which I'm really excited about. We have to send that in, we have to prep the files, so I thought we could go over all of that, like how many we order, how we do our color choices, what I have to do to get them sent in and ready. So yeah, I thought we could go over that today, and let's do it. Like if I'm showing. Okay, so this is how we normally prepare our coasters to send in. So I have a couple of samples here. So normally, when we first started out, we did everything Pantone colors. So all of our stuff is offset printed, and we would pick our colors. So we would get our little Pantone book out, and we use the, for anyone who is new to design, this might be like an obvious thing to say, but you definitely want to have one of these Pantone books. It gives you all the colors you need. So like when you work with a printer, unless you're doing CMYK, if you're doing a Pantone color, you would say, okay, the red's gonna be 2031U, and then it's gonna be this, there's gonna be that. And the reason you do that is because when you pick that color, you're gonna get that color. You're not gonna have a surprise color where you put something on your screen and you're like, oh, I thought it looked more magenta, but it looks purple, or I thought it was more turquoise and it's actually light blue or mint green, which has totally happened to us. So what you would do is, you know, you would get on Illustrator or InDesign or Photoshop or whatever platform you work in, they have Pantone books in there, and you would see, I want my blue on my file to be 292U, and then you would look it up and you would put that as the color. It doesn't always look like that on the screen, so this color might actually look more like that color on the screen, but that's okay because they know, the print shop knows that that's the color you mean because it says 292U. So you can't go off of what is on your screen. You have to go off of what you're looking at. Now, when we first started, we always did Pantone colors, or spot colors they'll call it sometimes. I'll talk about this some more in another vlog, but when you're ordering, you have to order, you know, like when you order, you're going to want to order higher numbers so your individual unit cost will be lower. And whenever we worked in Pantone colors, we were buying 10 designs, 10 different styles, 2,500 a piece of that. So we would get 2,500 of these, 2,500 of these, 2,500 of these. So we were buying 25,000 coasters at a time, which is a lot. It's a lot of inventory to hold. It's a lot to take care of. It's a lot. With who we work with, we found that if we went to CMYK, we could order smaller amounts of coasters and still get the price break we wanted. So we started...
We're still ordering the quantity of 2,500 per coaster, but we didn't have
We don't have to buy 10.
Right.
We can get
We
like...
have to do 10,000 coasters.
Yeah, we didn't have to do like 10 different designs or 25,000 coasters. We can do 2,500, 2,500.
Right.
And still meet like our price point that we need to. Which is why we switched over to CMYK. Now, I don't really think many people can tell the difference. We've had certain ones reprinted, like our Atlanta coaster, and you just really can't tell, like, you know. The reason I always did spot and Pantone colors is because I have a very specific color palette I like to work in for the brand, and it's very saturated colors. I like the really, I like the turquoises and the very specific reds, deep blues, and you can't always get those colors to translate to CMYK. There's just some things that they can't produce it. Like the turquoise is hard to make, things like that. Like that really nice turquoise. That can be really hard to reproduce, CMYK. It's like adding a couple $100 more for a second design. And so your price point goes down so much more. So in the case that we're working in, the break point is 2 designs. So instead of just reordering one, we're gonna do 2 designs and we're getting so much more for our money. We have a Cape Cod coaster coming up. What you actually see here, it's not the colors, because like I said, what prints out of your computer is not
out of your printer.
It's not what you're gonna get. So we do get a proof. So we can get a physical proof. So I'll send in my file, they'll do it, and they'll say, this is what it's gonna look like. They can mail it to you, they can show it to you, whatever. But to kind of make it so I don't have to go back to the drawing board again and again because I did the wrong color, I use digital reference books. We've worked with a couple digital printers in the past, and we have a new one now that we're working with. So this is our old reference book. So whenever you work with a digital printer, they will you can ask them, and they will print you a reference book. The number up top is your actual Pantone color. So if you go and you say, I want 238. Okay, here we go. Here's an example. This is 213 and 212. You can see that, right? Yeah, okay. Making sure y'all can see. 213, 212. Now, this printing company specifically, this is not our company that prints our coasters, but I'm using it as a general reference guide for myself. They tend to output their colors similar. So when I've asked for a specific color, the blue that I got is very similar to the blue that would be in here. If I got 212, that's what it would look like. Sometimes they're very close. The one thing you're gonna have trouble getting is that really deep saturation color. There's sometimes when you print digital, you're always gonna have this bit of a dingy dustiness to it. It's not all the time, like 226, that's very bright and saturated. Some of these are very saturated, but then you'll see when you go to your light colors, 210, it doesn't look like a lighter version, it looks like a dirty version, which is a problem for us. So I'm gonna pull it a little closer so you can see. That will dictate what colors I pick, because if I want a light blue, getting a light blue off of my Pantone book does not mean it'll be a pretty light blue. It could look dirty or gray. What I do is I decide, okay, I have my colors. I know what I want them to look like. It's not this, it's gonna be a lighter blue. But I find a color on my Pantone book that I like. So you'll see it looks nothing like what prints out. This is the blue that will be in the background. Not at all like that. Completely different. I wanted it to have more of a seafoam, light turquoise color. I had to kind of compromise and go more towards the blues and the greens because this printer has trouble printing greens more than blues. Every printer has a different thing. Some printers print reds better.
According to their equipment.
Yeah, I've had one printer where when I switched over from one digital printer to another, the red was better at the new printer, but the turquoise wasn't as good, or the blue was better, but the purple wasn't as good. So that can happen a lot. This is what the blue background's gonna be. And then our red is gonna be 1787. Gonna have to edit this down. Let me find it. I usually mark it on here to help myself, and I don't know if it did. I actually wanted it to be 1788. That's such a slight variation, I am aware. I don't even know if you can really tell on camera. But when I went to my book, 1788 didn't look as good, so I went with 1787. 1787. 1788, which is one of the colors I wanted. When it prints digitally, it's a little more orange than I wanted. I wanted more of a red, but not like fire engine red, but a little more deep red. But to compromise, but I also didn't want it to be like so red it was distracting and such a high contrast from my turquoisey color. So I went 1787. And then my blue, which was 304, is actually going to translate to 304 right there. It's going to be a little less green, a little more to the blue side, but it's going to be in between. There you go. Sometimes I have to work backwards. Sometimes I'll find the color in here and I'll say I like 310 on here, so I'll pull up the Pantone because I know their 310 will be more like this, less like the Pantone. I know that sounds completely backwards, but sometimes that's what you gotta do. So that's what we'll do. So these colors are already determined because it's a reprint, not a problem. And then I'll be adding in 2 colors, and then the white will just be, you know, the coaster showing through. And then the next step is prepping files, which I will show you next. One more thing I forgot. When you get your Pantone books, sorry, excuse my pretty foil samples. Those do not come with the books. You get a uncoated and a coated. So uncoated would be if you're printing on an uncoated paper. It's matte, it doesn't have a sheen to it. That's what these are. So if you're looking at a coated, it's not going to be what it prints out to be. It's going to have a gloss, but it'll have a deeper saturation. So you need to go to the uncoated side because that's what it's going to be more like. When you get your books, you have uncoated and coated paper in here. So I actually have different kinds of paper. I have coated, I have uncoated. They even will break it down to tell you like what printer is printing it. So like if it's an iGen or Indigo. Well, hold on. So coated iGen 4, but then if you flip ahead, this is what those same colors would look like on an uncoated Indigo. So uncoated paper printed with an Indigo press. You might like your Indigo, their Indigo press better than their iGen. They will a lot of times walk you through that and tell you what works best for what you're doing, but you get these handy books and it makes a huge difference. And then this book is with our new digital printer that we're working with. See how it's like a matte paper. And they actually didn't even have these. They made them up for us. They had to do a whole new system and they printed and bound us a book. So, because we were trying to do a rush on art prints, and if you're working with a printer directly as opposed to online, that's the benefit. You're gonna have the ability to have them print you out these spec books. Even if they don't have them, they can print you samples. Even if it's just like the color palette you work in, they could print it for you on different kinds of paper. But that is a huge benefit from working directly with a printer as opposed to just printing online and using what papers they provide, you know, whatever system they use, you don't know. And I'll get more into that later about working different kinds of printers, but for us specifically, we always work with people in the USA, and we work with companies that we can go in and physically talk to them. We don't do anything online because I want to be able to work out problems and tweak things. So now we'll do our files. So I have my press ready file. The colors are a little more accurate that are on the screen, but like I said, they're still not what you're gonna actually have print out. And then because these are offset, they're CMYK, but for them, they told me put in the file the actual Pantone color, and then they'll convert it. That way they know what I'm trying to get it to look like. Final result, I would like it to be as close as it can get to the Pantone color, so that's what I send them. A lot of places will prep the file for you, but I personally prep my own files because then I know it's gonna be exactly what I want it to be. And then they'll send me back a digital proof, which will look like pretty much what I sent them. So this is what they send you. You have like your safe zone is your first line, and then that's the cut zone. So anything you want to bleed off, you would have go past that cut zone. Anything that you cannot not have on your coaster, like if you have to have a name or writing, you need to have it within that first line. My total design is this. You can see that like all my writing, Cape Cod, mainland, all that is inside the first line, which is right here. And then I have my colors in separate files. So what prints first, the blue, or I don't know if it goes first, but one color is the blue. So this is what will print for the blue, and it doesn't overlap where the red is. Because if it overlaps, you're gonna have not your red color, it'll be whatever that red color would be over that blue color. So you don't have to worry about this when you print digitally, but when they prep your files or you prep your own files for offset, it's kind of like a screen printing. Like every color is its own run, and you have to keep them separate and not have them overlap unless you want them to overlap in certain places, and then that's a whole nother thing. Because that could give you like a third tone without having to pay for another color. Then you have your red. So this is everything that'll print red. And if we look, see how that sits on the white? That's white. So that's how you prep your file. You can probably hear Curry in the background complaining and attacking my mom because she wants snuggles. Curry, stop. Jeez. Oh my gosh, relax, Curry. Get down, get down. You're shaking the camera. Okay, so that's our file. We have it prepped. I have the colors, and then I label my actual layers with the PMS colors. So it's PMS 1787, PMS 305U. So they have everything. And I will send them this, and then they will send me back a proof, which will probably be just like this.